At this time, I will open the meeting of the September Town Council meeting for Wilson Mills. At this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Worley to lead us in the invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for everyone being able to be out tonight to discuss the business of the town. Help everyone to make their decisions in accord for the best of those who live in the town. We just ask your blessings upon everyone here, those who couldn't be here, and all of the people who are going through issues. We just ask you to put your hands on them and bless them and heal them, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
If everyone will rise, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under indivisible, with liberty and justice. Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda before we vote on it?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I would like to see, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to see the, under 7, regular business, 7C, item Roman numeral 3, where it states resolution regarding changes to the code of ordinance. I would like that moved up to become 7C1. If there's no objection.
I did want to note too that that should not say resolution. That should just say discussion. There is not a resolution for that right now. It's just for you to discuss this evening.
Okay, we'll move 7C3 to be 7C1. And that will make 7C1 be 2 and 2B3. Do I have a motion that we approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
I have a motion made by Councilman McGowan, seconded by Councilwoman Dobbins. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have 2 different sets of minutes to approve. We'll start with the regular town council meeting for August the 16th, 2021. Do we have any corrections, or do I have a motion to accept the minutes as written?
I make a motion to accept them as written for August 16th.
I've got a motion made by Councilwoman Dobbins. Do I have a second? A second by Councilman Brown. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The ayes have it. We have a closed session council meeting. Has everybody had the opportunity to see the closed session minutes? Do I have a motion that we approve those minutes as written?
So moved.
We have a motion made by by Councilman McGowan,
Second.
second one by Councilman Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? At this time, we will have an oath of office for the deputy clerk, Miss Emily Matthews. And it will be administered by Miss Worley.
I, Emily Matthews, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. So help me God. I, Emily Matthews, do further solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina,
to the state of North Carolina
to the constitutional powers
and to the constitutional powers
and authorities which are
and authorities which are
or may be established
for
for the government thereof,
and for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor to support,
and that I will endeavor to support,
maintain, and defend
maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with
not inconsistent with
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
I, Emily Matthews,
I, Emily Matthews,
do further swear
do further swear
that without prejudice,
that without prejudice,
I will honestly perform
I will honestly perform
the duties of deputy clerk
the duties of deputy clerk
of Wilson's Mills, North Carolina,
of Wilson's Mills, North Carolina,
according to the best of my skill and ability,
according to the best of my skill and ability,
according to law,
according to law.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations to Emily. At this time, at 6:37 PM, I will open the first open forum. Anyone wishing to speak, please come to the podium, give your name and address, and keep your remarks to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if I
Oh,
may.
excuse me.
That's okay. If I may, anybody that's up here that wishes to speak regarding the proposed change to the ordinance to change our noise ordinance, please remember that this is your time to speak. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. This is your time to speak because we will not have an open hearing here. Go ahead. Thank you.
All right, so if anybody that would like to speak, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christopher Pickor. I live at 247 West Chase Drive, Clayton address, but it's Wilson Mills. Have a concern about the construction on the weekends behind my house. 2 Sundays ago, a cement truck pulled up at 6:30 in the morning and started pouring concrete and woke both of my children up. One is 2, one is 5. Sleep on the weekends is extremely important to me and my children, and it seems to be an ongoing issue where it continues to get progressively earlier and earlier, not just on the weekends, but during the week as well. I know we have a noise ordinance that starts at 7 a.m., but on the weekends, I don't know if that's late enough. They don't seem to be following the policy as it's written now, and I'd just like to see something changed. Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak?
Is this better? You hear me? Good. Ryan McCune, 259 West Chase. I butt up right next to the construction that's almost in my backyard. My wife and I, we run a business. We are up very early during the week and we get home late during the week. But on the weekends, it's a little hard to take. I've got a 5-year-old and a 8-year-old that we'd love to keep in bed a little bit longer on the weekends to try to get caught up on some rest ourselves. I understand progress is important, but I believe that we could be respectful to the neighbors, not only in our neighborhood, but as all this construction goes on here in Wilson Mills, which I'm really excited about. I think that this respect value should carry on to all the other upcoming projects. Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Is there anybody wishing to speak on any other topic? I will close the first open forum at 6:40 p.m. I will now go to the regular business part. Since Mayor Wright is not here tonight, I will ask Ms. Matthews to give us any kind of a report on events.
We're planning on having an events committee meeting, hopefully the end of this month, beginning of next month. We want to go ahead and start talking about Christmas, see if there's anything we want to do. We haven't had a meeting in several months and because we haven't had anything to plan. So hopefully I'll make those calls this week and we'll get a meeting on the agenda.
Thank you. It's my time to give the sewer report. At this time, we have no new information dealing with the sewer. So I'm going to go to Councilman Dobbins, planning and zoning report.
Okay, on the zoning report, they did have a meeting, last month. And, I think in your package, you have the, changes to the code ordinance, also to the in-town planning board member, reappointment, Donald Byrd, that we'll be going over. They did talk about that. They talked about the noise ordinance, which they didn't approve. Also, they had a resignation of one of their members, Mary Beth. So they do have an opening on that. That was mainly it. They did talk about the $25 that we approved for them. They was very appreciative of that, but of course, some of them did not take the $25 because of being a citizens of the Wilson Mills and helping Wilson Mills. They just thought maybe they didn't want to take the $25, but they was thankful for it.
Okay, now one thing we do need to probably do is have anybody who wants to discuss the changes in the code of ordinances. I did notice on this in the council actions that the planning board request that we deny the change of any ordinance from the 7 a.m. ordinance. Anybody wishing to speak may speak of the town council members.
Yes, I certainly do, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. It's my understanding that tonight we are going to vote yay or nay with respect to asking for a motion that will be made at some point regarding a public hearing, scheduling a public hearing for our next meeting in October. So before we get to that point, I would like to, I don't anticipate which way the vote's going to go. However, I would like to make a statement and at least state my case. You all heard my case last month, but it was sort of a shooting from the hip case. And now I've given it more thought and my thoughts are a little bit more concise. So if you will, please bear with me. All right. All right. At our last meeting in August, I asked this council to approve a change to our current noise ordinance, which allows construction noise between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. every day of the week, including holidays, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. on weekends and holidays. No, I take that back. Every day of the week, including holidays. I am asking that we change it from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. on weekends and holidays. My reason is the citizens of our town deserve to be allowed some peace and quiet for extra sleep and not be jarred awake on weekends and holidays at 7 a.m. These 2 additional hours of sleep and time are well deserved by our town's workforce and need not be interrupted by nail guns and the pouring of concrete that they normally have to endure throughout the week. I was accused, and I'm just saying that lightly, it's no big deal. I was accused of sponsoring this change for my own good, as I live right next to the construction of homes at the cottages of Wilson's Mills on Sutherland Road. I was told to simply close my windows and let it be. Well, the person that said that, when you go to the GIS system and look, that person lives at least 300 feet from any construction, whereas my neighbors and I live less than 75 feet from the noise. Those that accuse me of being selfish and sponsoring something for my own welfare, I say that you don't know me very well, but a majority of the active voters in our town do, as was demonstrated in my last election. Furthermore, I was advised that number one, our police have enough work and don't need to become ordinance police. To that, I simply say that it's part of their job and it requires no additional effort. I was also advised that by changing this ordinance to 9 a.m. on weekends, it's seeking to deprive workers of income. To that, I say this. When was the last time you ever heard a builder say to a buyer, I'm sorry, you don't have any flooring yet, but the town took away some of my building time. Builders will find the time, I can assure you. And in addition to this argument about taking workers' income away, I remind everyone here that we, each of us, as elected town council members, represent the workers and citizens of Wilson's Mills, not the home builder. And finally, number 3, I was reminded that once the subdivision was built out, it's all over. I disagree. Remember that this is not the last and final subdivision of our town, and therefore this problem will certainly continue. I genuinely feel empathy for the folks that have just bought or about to buy a home here because they're faced with about a year of this noise early on weekends and holidays. Let's remember, to those that bought new homes in Parish Ridge and other new developments, I can genuinely say that I'm sorry that this idea of changing weekend hours took so long. So let's do it for all of our new residents from here onward. And finally, let's remember who we work for, who elected us, and what we are charged to do. For me, our citizens take precedent over folks that come here temporarily to build homes. This is a people ordinance, not a worker ordinance, and the people are residents. The workers are not. The people who live here, the people here in the audience tonight that spoke out in favor of the weekend change are all citizens of Wilson's Mills. Some have lived here only a couple of weeks. They were supposed to be here, but they're not. But others have been here for several years. So this is our chance to show that we care and will truly represent each of them. With that said, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion calling for a public hearing at our next meeting to change our town's noise ordinance.
Do I have a second? Do I have any discussion?
So you're just talking about taking away 1 hour, right?
Well,
Because
the
you
motion,
changed it.
yes, but the
you s-
motion I just made, Ms. Dobbins, is to at least have a public hearing at our next council meeting. I'm just making my case for that right now.
Oh, okay.
That's all I want to do is have a meeting, have at our next scheduled meeting in October, call a public hearing for the residents to come in, other residents, more residents perhaps, to come in and pro or con, go both ways. But if you vote now and no at this point in time, that shoots it down and it deprives other residents of a chance to talk. And yes, I'm asking for it to be changed on weekends and holidays only to 9 a.m. instead of 7 a.m. to give our residents a chance to get a little bit more shut eye. That's who we represent. We don't represent the guys with the nail guns.
Okay.
I sympathize with them, but they will be able to make up those hours at some point. They're not going to have anything taken out of their wallet.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
did you receive a second?
I did not.
I rise to point of order and say we move on.
Okay, we did not receive a second for the motion. So,
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
yes,
I make a motion that we, the Board of Town of Wilson's Mills, deny the change to the town ordinance.
well, right now there's no motion to change the town ordinance. So we don't need a motion to deny the change because there is no motion to change the ordinance right now. The motion is to have a public hearing.
Right.
And we don't have a second on that, but
Right.
there's no use to have a motion to change the ordinance to deny the change of ordinance because we don't have anything.
I was
that's-
just looking at the
Yeah,
word resolution.
I understand what you're saying, but my understanding is we don't have it. We don't have a,
That's correct. I think Ms. Leanna pointed out that there's no resolution. This was just for discussion. And if there's no change to the ordinances, then there's no, they remain what they are until they're changed. And so
So we don't have a resolution.
no, we
that's-
don't.
That's
Okay,
correct.
all right, okay.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Yes, sir.
I reserve the right to have a final rebuttal since I was the one who opened the conversation and the discussion. I'm entitled to the final word unless someone else has something to say.
Well, you're entitled to another word, not necessarily the final.
Well, if anyone has something else to add to it, please do so. I just want to make the final. That's all.
All right, I'll give you my feelings on it.
Yes, sir, please.
I'm not for changing the ordinance. I don't think we should limit the people working. I am for enforcing the ordinance. In other words, if somebody brings concrete to pour at 6:30, that should not be allowed,
That's right.
period.
Mhm.
But I'm not for changing it from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Because most construction people, they want to get their work done at this time of the year before the heat. And if we go to 9 o'clock, then we're just throwing them into the heat. In the wintertime, it would be exactly the same, the cold and all that. But I'm not for changing the ordinance. I'm for leaving the ordinance at 7 a.m. and enforcing the ordinance. If somebody starts doing something before 7 a.m., we need to have somebody out there and write them a ticket, write them whatever we need to write to make them, to enforce the ordinance at 7 a.m.
Right, because the policeman can do that, right?
Yeah. I don't know the exact procedure,
Not
of whether
give
it
them a
would be the
ticket.
policeman or whether it'd be our code enforcement,
Okay,
but
the violation of it, okay.
it's a violation. It's a violation. Maybe I don't know, the first one might be a warning. The second would be a fine. I mean, I am definitely for enforcing the ordinance because I know that situation with the ordinance. When I was mowing grass at the new golf course, Clayton has an ordinance at 7 o'clock. if I started mowing before 7 o'clock, I was subject, well, I wasn't, but the superintendent was subject to be given a ticket or and fine for breaking the ordinance. So yes, I'm for making sure we enforce the ordinance. That if somebody comes out there and starts working at 6:30, we need to take care of it. That's breaking the ordinance.
That's, we put ordinances in place for a reason and they need to be abided by. I agree with that. To change them, no, I don't think we need to change them. But we do need to enforce them. We've got to have somebody to enforce them. It's no different. Your neighborhood, my neighborhood, or anybody else's neighborhood in here. You're not going to develop anything but 70 highway in my neighborhood. And I have to listen to that all night long. Can't tell the state to stop work because they ain't gonna do it, period. But we can limit what we've got by enforcing what we have in place.
My intentions here are very good. My intentions, there's nothing devious about it. There's nothing about taking food off anyone's table. There is nothing like that. So I want folks to understand what I'm trying to do here. And I'm glad it's done tonight so everybody can see what was done. Mr. Mayor, I'll make another motion. I'd like to make a motion that we dissolve all town noise ordinances. What good are they? I make a motion, we dissolve all town ordinances, let them come in at 5 a.m. and build away to their little heart's content. Make all the money they can. I'm for it. I make the motion, we abolish all town noise ordinance.
Sure. Yes,
Punch your button. They want to hear you.
That's true.
That you might as well do away with the town.
Do I have a second on Mr.
I've tried, it don't work.
Councilman McGowan's motion? Do I have a second on Councilman McGowan's motion? Since we do not have a second, we will continue on with what we're doing. The next one is the ordinance. The next one is the ordinance to extend the corporate limit capital properties of Raleigh LLC. Do we have any discussion about what was discussed last week before we continue with what we're going to do? Yes, sir.
I'll just let you guys know that I'm here tonight if you have any questions for us.
My understanding that all they're asking for us to do right now is to annex them into the town. Has nothing to do with what their plans are. It's just that we're going to annex their land into the town of Wilson Mills. Is there anybody else that wants to say anything, or do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the ordinance, Town of Wilson's Mills, number 196 is written.
I second.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Jernigan, second by Councilman McGowan to annex the land, right?
Yes.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Land will be annexed into the town of Wilson Mills. And, our third planning and zoning is the appointment to the in-town planning board member to reappoint him, and that would be Donald Byrd.
I'll make a motion, we reappoint Mr. Byrd to the planning board.
I second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Jernigan, seconded by Councilman Brown and Councilman McGowan, that we reappoint Councilman Byrd to his seat on the planning board. Anybody got any more discussion? All in favor?
I would like
Yes.
to say one thing first
Yes.
off. I just want to say that I read the application by the applicant very carefully. And I'm voting yes because I respect the gentleman. I respect all the years he spent here in Wilson's Mills and his desire to do well for the citizens of Wilson's Mills.
Okay. I've known Mr. Byrd since I came to Wilson Mills. And he is very much a person who wants to help the town of Wilson Mills. Yeah. So his whole family has worked really hard for the town of Wilson Mills. Is at this point, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Mr. Byrd has been reappointed to the town, to the planning board for the town of Wilson Mills. Okay, at this point, we will now go to Councilman David McGowan with the Police Department report.
And I defer to Chief Williams, or yeah, Chief Williams.
I've got nothing new to report other than, what you have before you. Well, yes, I do. And add one thing. We got 5 new officers that are currently going through the process to be hired. Of course, we only got 1 full-time position. The other 4 will be part-time. That'll bring us to about 19 total full-time and part-time officers, if everything goes as scheduled.
Chief, I want to say thanks for the vehicle stops, 145. That is impressive. Quick question for you. First off, a statement and then a question. My statement would be, I like to go around to the new developments, and there's no such thing as a welcome wagon unless you're looking at him. And I do welcome them to Wilson's Mills. And of the folks I spoke with a few days ago, 2 or 3 of them were quick to point out how, I don't want to say secure they feel, but how good they feel when they see our police department patrolling the developments. It's just something that they're not used to. And they like that here. So they're getting some good vibes about Wilson's Mills. The other thing I want to ask you about is if you recall in the news, there was a man apprehended recently for impersonating an officer using an old 2010 Ford Crown Vic. The surplus, or the soon to be declared surplus vehicle we have sitting on the empty lot right now, I notice we take off obviously the Wilson's Mills stuff, but is it too much to ask to take off all of the other stuff? I mean, the blue and black swirls, it's not too difficult if somebody buys that from auction to stencil on there some town, and it even says 911 on the back. Can we remove some of those things too? I just don't want us getting the short end of the stick. I mean, there's so much attention being paid to the county in Western North Carolina that put their vehicle up for auction, that not all of that stuff was taken off.
Yeah, well, that was entirely different. They
Yeah.
left, all they did was take off the county name.
Yeah, they made it easy.
They left the sheriff and the
Right.
police and all that stuff on
Yeah, they
there.
made it easy for them. I just don't want
Um,
Wilson's Mills to get caught up in anything like that.
It's really labor intensive to take off all the decals. We take off everything, including our badge, the Wilson's Mills name, anything that says police. There's nothing identifying about any kind of law enforcement vehicle. I guess you can argue the 911 on the back.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing. But as far as the rest of the striping,
Well,
it's not, they aren't easy to get off. at all.
I'll leave it up to you, but if we ever get a community service person that is looking for something to do, that's a good spot.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 days work, right? I know, when I was doing the community service, we stripped 2 cars.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
If I do want to say, I've had some interchanges with some of your policemen. They have the best morale that I've seen in the many years that I've been here in Wilson Mills. I know we're getting some really good qualified applicants for this job. Just please keep up that good work and keep these good people coming to the town of Wilson Mills.
Okay, thank you.
At this time, we'll go to Councilman Randy Journal and the Public Works report.
Okay, everybody has Mr. Patrick's monthly report here. One of the biggest things we need to approve tonight is the award bid for coriander, deer flag, antler, pricket, and Parker Street. If you've had time to look over your bids, you had ASD, which is Asphalt Services on Demand, and Daniels. They're the only two that responded back to our bids. I think we sent out 5 altogether. I would make a motion that we award the bid to ASD, with it being the lower bid. Some things that stood out for Daniels is every time they moved a piece of equipment, it was going to cost them $1,000 for mobilization fees that we don't have on ASD. And without that, we were still right at $31,000 cheaper going with ASD, which we know their work, and they've done Missioner Drive, they've done Poplar Creek, Hickory, all those streets over there. So I make a motion that we award the bid to ASD.
I have a motion made by Councilman Jernigan that we award the bid to ASD, Asphalt Services on Demand, to repave Antler, Deer Flag, Coriander, Rowe, Pricket, and Parker. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilman McGowan,
Yeah, that's me.
and we'll listen to any discussion before we take a vote. If anybody else would like to say anything. First of all, I agree with Councilman Jernigan. ASD has done a tremendous job for us. The last one where we did Poplar Creek, they came back and saved us $80,000 because they didn't have to do as much work as they thought they had to do. They could have taken that money and we would have felt good about it, but they came back and said, we didn't have to do all that we bid to do. So, and they came back and give us $80,000 off the bid. So I'm all for going with ASD. Anybody else got any discussion?
I just have one quick point. I agree with you on everything, but I would like to see before they sign it that they give us what was one thing that was requested that they did not submit, and that's their certificate of liability. We have one?
We have their insurance on file
Oh,
from the
okay.
last job. Yes.
But it's, I didn't see it in here, so it's a legitimate question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have a projected begin date and end date if we chose them?
Did you say no, Patrick? They don't have that yet. No.
We don't have one on that. Okay, I just wanted to know.
And all of these streets, are they in the same area?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
They are.
ma'am. They're all right within, real close to each other. You wouldn't, the idea of paying $1,000 to move your equipment from Antler to Deer Flag, because they're not going to have to put their equipment on a truck to move from the Antler to Deer Flag. It's only like 100 yards between the two streets.
Right.
And then it's not, the one across the street, it's not that far between them. So this moving from one to the other and paying to have that done, looks to me like they'd be happy that we got 5 or 6 roads so close to each other, they can get their equipment there and do them all at one time. That's just my opinion. Do we have, at this point, I'm going to ask for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? At this point, we are going to award the bid to Asphalt Services on Demand with their total is $211,325. So that will be how much we spend to repave the 6 streets. Anything else?
Yes, sir. Our next thing is our maintenance building. I'll let Ms. Worley go in on a little bit of that. We were able to turn the building back in with the only penalty was our deposit. Ms. Worley, if you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
That was it. Yeah, I mean, that's an update from your conversation last month. And so this month, we're just bringing it back before you to see if this is something that you still want to move forward with a bid for the service as a turnkey job. We did have somebody from Jackson Builders come out just to look at the area. Mayor Wright knew somebody there and just asked him to come and look at what we were wanting to do and the area where we were wanting to build it, letting him know that it would have to be bid out. So it wasn't anything that he thought, he was coming to just get a job. But they did tell him that they didn't normally add architectural design and engineering to their bid. They could, if that was part of what we sent out, which is what we did before. But they didn't give us any kind of price because obviously they would need to put that in the form of a bid. But so we're just coming to you tonight to ask you if this is something that you want to move forward with now with pricing the way that it is. If you want to wait, if you feel like
We still need a maintenance building, but right now I've priced the structural steel and it's 30 to 40% higher than what we had this building at. And if y'all remember that the initial turnkey project that we did receive was 168,000. And if we would have voted on that at the time, the building would be up. If you look at that same building now with the architectural engineering plans, that would cost us about $450,000 to $550,000. So we still need it, but right now I would recommend we hold off and do a play-by-play next month and the month after, because the economy is going to come down some, and so the prices of construction.
I'm an aviator. How's that? I'm not a builder type. So I look at you guys for advice and counsel on this. I always try to look at options, and is brick and block an option or not?
Depends on how much money you want to pay.
Well, I mean,
it is
comparable. Is it going to be, twice the cost, half the cost? What?
probably twice the cost of a metal structure.
Okay. That's all I need to know.
At least.
Okay.
If not more.
When I'm dumb on something, I'll let you know I am. I need to know. Okay.
I'm okay with a little bit of a delay, but I don't want it to be, we're desperate in need of this building. Number one, we're in need of it for our equipment, but we're also in need of it for our meetings. So I'm not for us throwing this way off down the road. I mean, we know that it's going to cost us more money. We know that right now. Maybe if we wait a month, 2 months, maybe the building obviously the cost will come down a little bit. But I don't want to see us discontinue at this process of building this building for more than 2 more months, 3 more months to start planning and getting started on it. That's just my opinion.
Is purchasing, again, I'm asking for my own edification, is purchasing a prefab that is already erected on someone's property somewhere, maybe 5-10 years old, is it a possibility to, as a prefab, to defab and buy that building and bring it over here, or is it not? Is that too labor intensive, or you can save on the building and spend it on labor? I don't know.
Well,
Basically, that's the same process we just had, was we had a building, but we just needed somebody to put it together. And they were going to charge us $300,000 just to put it together.
All right, got you now. I remember.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Anybody else got any comments?
On Public Works, I just have one quick question, Randy. I noticed Patrick Scott here on his report took the mower back to Musgraves for, and I underlined it, same reason.
Yes.
What are we going to do about that thing?
Right now,
Yes,
they're giving us loaner lawnmowers.
they're giving us what?
They're loaning us lawnmowers while they correct their problem. Leanna and I have spoken, and Patrick and I have spoken. Soon, we're probably going to have to replace those because they're going to stop giving us that lawnmower. But until they keep supplying us with a rental, we might as well keep doing it.
Does North Carolina have lemon laws? And if so, does it apply to equipment like that? I mean, how many times has it been?
This is not something that the actual company Musgrave has, it's not their fault. It's the manufacturer's fault. And the manufacturer does not want to accept responsibility.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, so to finish the discussion on this, we're going to hold back for at least 1 to 2 more months, waiting to see what the construction business looks like in terms of, is the cost going to come down some? But I hope we don't go more than 2 to 3 months before we make a final decision that we're going to have to eventually do it, no matter what.
I would like to have everything ready by our November meeting.
Anybody else got a statement? So Rod,
I was just going to ask Randy, have you heard anything? Is the state, and I think the old 78 Wilson Mills Road, it's state maintained, it's not town, right? Have they said anything about fixing that bumpy right away there?
No, sir, not until, they're not doing any work on Wilson's Mills Road until they finish 70 highway.
But do you think they will come down into town? I mean, it's just bumpy to me. I mean, and I know they hadn't done anything for probably 30 years to it.
From my understanding, once they get finished, they're going to actually come in and pave from 70 all the way to the old curve in Gordon Road.
Yeah, okay, good.
Hopefully they stick by.
all right, so with everything, with what's done now, we're basically everything you've got done, and we're gonna hold off on the building. And y'all are gonna try to keep up with the cost of things going. If we get a drop in the cost, we need to jump on it as quick as we can, in my opinion. And if it doesn't, we're still gonna have to do something within the next 2 to 3 months. That's just my opinion. But we'll stop at that.
The only thing I have is Adam Stuckey. He completed the work on Stone Creek. He also did the maintenance work on Country Valley. And he did the scraping in front of Town Hall for us. So
That looked good
that
too.
work has been complete.
Okay, at this point, I will go to our finance officer's report, Ms. Hudson.
You have in the packets the financial statements from August, and if you have any questions, I'm open and willing to answer any. I have been still working with the auditor. They are currently working on that, and hopefully we're getting ready to, I would say as much work as I've already provided to them, that it's probably 90% complete. So we'll have it in way before time's up, which is October 31st.
Anybody got any questions of Ms. Hudson? Thank you, Ms. Hudson. I will go to Town Administrator Report, Leon Worley.
Okay, you have a resolution to unseal specific closed session minutes, and you got those in your packet to discuss or to review the various closed session minutes. Just want to note that we did redact any personnel information from those closed session minutes because those are permanently sealed. The other ones have all passed past the time that it would matter if they were still sealed, so they can be unsealed if you so choose to do so. If you have any questions, I can answer those for you.
After having looked over those, I see no reason for us not to unseal them. Anybody give me a motion?
Yeah, I have a quick question for our counselor. Counselor, when the motion is made to unseal, is it stated a resolution unseal specific closed session minutes? And do we need to go down for each and every one of them, the date and type of minutes they are?
No, I don't. I'm looking for the resolution. I believe it includes all the minutes. So if you just adopt the resolution.
Okay, so,
You'll be fine.
all right,
That's
then I'll make the motion to unseal specific closed session minutes.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilman McGowan, seconded by Councilman Jernigan and Councilwoman Dobbins to unseal. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, the next item on your agenda is a discussion of a requested annexation agreement with the town of Smithfield. And as I put in the request for action, the Smithfield attorney, Bob Spence, met with me at Town Hall. And this area that's on the map that's included in your packet are 3 different parcels that the town of Smithfield is requesting that we go into an agreement with them to not annex. If they request annexation, then they would go towards the town of Smithfield rather than to here, which, as I also said in this request for action, these are not areas that we would have recommended you annex anyway, even if they requested it. One of the things that we've been talking with the county about is trying to fill the gap between our current town limits and our satellite annexations that we already have out there, the Bobby Murray tract and all that stuff. And anything in between there that's residential that is outside of the county's municipal transition district where they supply the water and sewer. We've kind of had we're still going back and forth with them about not a problem. It's just a capacity issue about trying to service those with water and sewer. So this area is south of that. These parcels are south of that area. So staff does not see any reason why we should want to annex those, and doesn't see any reason why you shouldn't be okay with approving this agreement. Tonight is not to vote to approve the agreement. I'd still like for Attorney Deuce-Blond to look over this agreement with the town and make sure that that everything looks good and that the meets and bounds are correct as well. This would just be your voting or consensus to let us know if you want to move forward with this so that he can look into it further and then vote on it in October.
You need a motion to move forward?
Do we have a motion to move forward?
I don't think you need a motion to move forward. If you just give us that consensus, we can work
okay.
on it and you can approve it in October.
Any council member have anything to say, or is everybody in agreement?
I do. I'm confused. I don't, is it blue or pink that I'm looking at?
Okay, so if you look at the map that is shown in the back of the agreement as Exhibit A, I believe it is. Yeah. Exhibit A.
Yeah.
The blue area is, this just showing the territorial area. The pink is Wilson's Mills town limits. The 3 parcels that they're requesting in this annexation agreement are the ones with stars. It's the Flora Hole Grantham property, the Nell Howell property, and the Gersberger Industries property.
Then the blue is Smithfield, correct?
No, the
That's what
blue
they're
is county.
proposing. That's county.
No, the
What-
blue area is county. These three
with the s-
parcels right to the left
right
of
here.
the blue or to the left of the blue. Those are the parcels that they're requesting be in this annexation agreement, that if they come for annexation, we've got an agreement with Smithfield that we will not annex those properties. They would belong to Smithfield if they ever wanted to come out of the county and into a municipality.
The property is the Rudy Howe property behind Johnson County Auto Salvage Office Safety Business. The property directly across from St. Anne's Catholic Church right there between I'm sorry, before you get to Gersberger on the right-hand side between basically West Smithfield or Whitley Heights and Gersberger. That's the property that they're looking at.
Do we know why they want us to say we won't annex?
They have had some parties interested in annexing into the town of Smithfield, but because it's so close, they wanted to go ahead and set this agreement up. And it's my understanding that one is a church, I believe, and the other is a charter school. So they're not, they wouldn't be tax beneficial to us anyway. So if that makes sense.
How would it be beneficial to Smithfield if we enter this agreement then? If it's not beneficial to us?
I don't know that it would be beneficial to them on tax purposes, but it wouldn't be anything that we would recommend annexing anyway, because it's so far south of our areas.
My thinking on that is where that property is, we sure wouldn't want to annex, because when we annex, we got to put police out there, and that would be a long travel.
It depends on what's intended to go out there. And
Well,
you don't
that's
know
true
what's going
too.
out there in years. I mean, we as a town council of Wilson's Mills have to look after, and we'll use what Randy said, the town of Wilson's Mills. And if they're wanting us to agree not to take it into our city limits, and we're saying that it's no to benefit for us to bring it in our city limits, what's their benefit?
I agree with that statement.
I mean, why is it so important then? And I guess that may be questions that we can't answer at this point, but
But I agree with you in that sense. That
there was
If-
the time
if-
years
if-
ago, Mayor Pro Tem, years ago, where the Wilson's Mills Fire Department entered a very similar agreement with a town. And it costed them tax dollars. So that's the reason I'm being very cautious on this, because there's a reason why we're being asked to go into this and not annex it when we got property that looks like not too far from it on both sides here. And we go all the way up to on 70 highway. So I'm just cautious. I'm not saying that I will not agree to it, but I'm just cautious until I get more information.
Whether or not we agree to it in the future, is there something that Smithfield has that we could use? I'm very big on barter. I'd like to keep that in mind. That's all.
I agree with
If we
Tim,
need
because
something they have,
hey, Tim, I know what we did when this Gordon property up here with, that was a fight down to the end on who was going to take that in. So I understand what we're talking about. Yes, sir.
how do we find out? I mean, if it's a big secret, Smithfield's not going to come right out and say it.
I think Leanna said that, didn't she say that the lawyer was gonna look into that and find?
I think we're gonna have to let
That
them look
she's-
into it more for us.
The lawyer
He
will
don't.
look into it to find
I'm
out
like
more
Tim, I don't
information.
know for sure what this is all about.
Yeah, I'll be reviewing the wording of the agreement, but it's pretty straightforward. So, I don't know about any sleuthing into their motivations. I might have to leave that to your town staff.
I don't know that we will
And
get
I'm
that
not
information.
suggesting, I'm not
No.
suggesting that at all. I know those folks over there and they're good folks. But I just want to make sure that we're going to get the most that we can. And I guess maybe I'm just ignorant to what's going on with this agreement. But I'll wait and hear further later. But no, I don't insinuate anything towards those fine folks at Smithfield. No, they're good folks.
So what is the consensus on what we're going to do?
To just allow the attorney and I to move forward with looking into the agreement. Again, I don't know that I can answer your questions, Mr. Brown, because I'm not sure.
Well, it says that we're going to let y'all have further
Okay,
review,
we will.
which is, does everybody agree that we're going to do that?
Mhm, yes.
Okay.
Okay, the last item that I have on the agenda is the grant assistance agreement with Triangle J. And you all reviewed this last month, but they didn't have an actual agreement ready to present to the different boards. Nothing has changed since you saw it last time. It is assistance with applying for, administering grants for the members of Triangle J Council of Governments. And the cost for our population would be $4,000 a year, which is a lot less than a grant writer would cost if you hired someone to do that. And they are already in the process of hiring a dedicated staff member, if not two, to work on this program for their member municipalities. I'll be happy to answer any questions about it that you have.
Do we have discussion?
This is only a year contract at the time, correct?
That's correct.
So if we don't see the benefit of this contract, we don't have to renew it.
That's correct.
So will you be working with them too? You will not?
Yes, I will be
Okay.
working with the grants or with Triangle J. So I'll be working with Triangle J, and any of the municipalities who sign up with this program with Triangle J will be working with this dedicated staff member or members on different grants that we would be eligible for. And then which ones we would want to present to council to request to apply for. And then they would do all of the application work, administering the grants, doing the follow-up paperwork and the reports for the grants. So the money would come through us for the grant, but they would administer all of the stuff that takes a lot of time and staff work.
So they would be able to recognize some possibilities for us along with.
Yes, sir. That's a big part of this too, is actually looking for and finding grants that specifically fit us and that we could possibly qualify for.
I'm going to let everybody else speak if they want to.
There's a lot of grants out there that we could get, but we don't have for one, we don't have the staff to actually sit down with these grants, because a good grant will take you anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks just to write it,
That's correct.
just to look into to see what we can do. And that takes away from the town. So I'm in agreement with it.
I think we
Up
ought to
to a
try.
year,
I
right?
don't think we ought
Try,
to give them a year, yeah, to see. what we
try.
can
And if
do.
we don't benefit from it, then
I mean, if
we
they
don't have to
write,
renew the contract.
if they, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you. If they were to write one grant for us, we would probably make our money back well more than double. what
Okay,
we're
I've
paying them.
got the opinion of the ones up here that wanted to speak, right? Do I have a motion? I have a motion made by Councilman Jernigan to give an agreement with the Triangle TJCOG, Triangle Council of Government. I have a second by Councilman Brown. Any more discussion before we vote? And this is a 1-year agreement to see if it will work for us at a cost of $4,000. Does anybody else want to speak? If not, everybody vote.
Aye.
The only other thing that I do have is I wanted to let you know that tomorrow starts the first large part of the work on the strategic plan by the Triangle J. Tomorrow, all day, Lee Worsley with Triangle J has interviews scheduled with all of the department heads to start that part of the strategic planning. After that's completed with the staff, he will then start talking with the council members about your individual interviews.
All right, are you through?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, at 7:32 PM, I will open the second forum for anyone who would like to speak. If you want to speak, please come to the podium, give your name, your address, and limit your time to 3 minutes. I will close the open forum at 7:33 with no one wishing to speak. Do I have a motion to go into closed session? I have a motion by Councilman Brown, seconded by Councilman Jernigan, to go into closed session in relation to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A5. All in favor?